Hello, fellow followers. Welcome back to FanZcene. Greg here, and today I have for you Warner Brothers misses the days of DVDs. I saw this article, and as soon as I saw this article, I knew I had to do a video on it. It's absolutely hilarious and insane at the same time. The fact that Warner Brothers, I mean, we're going to get into it. So let's just go ahead and bring up this article right now from Popverse. It says Warner Brothers misses the days when we bought DVDs and Blu-rays, and says streaming is just not the same. You know, streaming was all your deals, right? You guys saw Netflix and was like, we all need our stream. We need HBO Max. We need Hulu. We need Disney Plus. It's you guys did this, right? You know that it's your fault. But it says the slow extinction of DVDs has removed one of the financial safety nets that studios used to rely on. Remember when Matt Damon said that? Yeah, I mean, it's almost like people have been saying this, much like myself, for years about physical media and DVDs and Blu-rays, and but we'll get into this. So let's scroll down, and this article is by Joshua Lapin Bertone, contributing writer. I hope I said his name right. If I didn't, I apologize. But I don't know if I'll read the whole article because it does get into a whole certain thing, but we'll get into what I want to talk to you guys about. It says, have you noticed how small the DVD aisle has gotten? If you walk into a big box store like Walmart or Target, you probably noticed that the DVD section is a fraction of what it was 15 or 20 years ago. This should come as no surprise as consumers have moved away from physical media. Yes, mainstream has. Flocking to streaming services like Netflix, which absolutely is dog shit, Disney Plus, which is just as much as big as dog shit, for their movie needs. According to Warner Brothers Pictures co-chairs Mike DeLuca and Pam Adby, the film industry hasn't recovered from that loss. Streaming is a bad business. It should never have replaced movie theaters or movies for your home viewing entertainment of movies. It would have been much better just for TV, like TV series, live action, live events, stuff like that, which is sort of what they're starting to do now, especially with adding in commercials and all that. But I'm sure I'll get into more of that as we continue here. But it says, when we lost DVDs, when DVDs went away, which they haven't, it's still actually the best-selling form of physical media. DVDs are huge, but to them, it don't mean nothing because, well, we'll get into it. But it says, went away, we did lose a safety net, and streaming doesn't quite make up the gap. You don't say. I never would have guessed. DeLuca says during an appearance at the Smartlist podcast. Smartlist, that dumb. We did, Adby says, echoing David Luca's comments. We are working without a net, DeLuca continues. This is hysterical to me because I always like to tout this video that I did like a year or two ago called Hollywood Never Wanting You to Have Physical Copies of Movies. It's all predicated on copyrights and everything, right? And people getting movies that they're not supposed to have because Hollywood wants control, because Hollywood back in the 40s had control. Like everything they made, they owned theaters and they owned studios, they owned theaters, and only their movies could play in studios and theaters that they own, much like streaming, right? And then the VHS era came along and exploded with the video stores and everything, and physical media became huge. It became a mainstream household thing, and they reluctantly gave into that, even though they didn't, because there was a lot of suits beforehand when VHS first came out of people recording off TV shows, stuff that they didn't like. And then once they started making lots of money from home video, I mean lots, by like 2000, I believe it was a huge business. And then streaming came along, and it's almost back to the old studio model that just is absolutely failing, and they're filling it from it. But the problem with this is, and then I'll get into more after I read some more of this, is just because it's just like, it's so aggravating. So it's looking at the numbers, Adby and DeLuca aren't kidding. In 2005, it was reported that Shrek 2 in 2005, I think that's what it was, 2005, because I think in 2006, streaming, that's when it came along and destroyed everything. Shrek 2 had brought in $458 million from DVD sales alone. To put that to perspective, that's more than the entire box office run of the 2024 film Beetlejuice. In contrast, Wonka was one of the high-selling DVDs in 2024, making only 2 million in the United States. But that's true. It's funny because it's like, They used to make these movies and they would go to the theaters and they would make money. Sometimes they would fail, sometimes they'd be successful. Then the home video market would come around and they'd make a lot of money on the back end return of that. It's almost like another, that's what they mean by they're working without a safety net. If they lost another, they did this to themselves. And the fact is, they can't accept that they did this to themselves because they cut off that form of money that they were getting back from physical media sales, right? Because it just, it's just so freaking dumb. I can't stand it. However, DeLuca and Adby said the loss of the revenue stream that came from DVDs has pushed them to make better movies. You sure about that? You sure about that? You're really making a lot better movies now? You sure about that? Come on. Come on. I mean, yeah, there has been some. I will give credit. There has been some decent newer movies here lately, more than I've anticipated personally, and I am excited for the new Superman movie. But are you really sure about you guys have been really making the best movies you could possibly make nowadays to counteract that? I don't think so. Look at the box offices. Just look at the box office. I don't think so. Uh, says I also think, as Pam said, that can really be exciting. I think for the consumer, it means that the bar for quality has to be set high to get you out of the house and convert to being a ticket buyer. I just they did this to they legitimately did this to themselves. They themselves cut this off, and now they and I also call it the streaming effect of movies because a lot of movies nowadays aren't really made for the theaters. Yeah, they can say, "Oh, we're making better movies now to get people out of the house." That's technically not true. And case in point, some of the Amazon movies, which I do tout the success of The Beekeeper and A Working Man starring Jason Statham, but those movies along with The Accountant 2 with Ben Affleck, which these aren't Warner Brother films, but these three movies were specifically made for streaming. Yes, they had box office runs, and yes, they did do pretty decently, but that's just a thing to get them out there in the theaters, and eventually they were essentially made for streaming. And you're seeing it now. Like I even was seeing Justine Bateman and all them saying that like they're watching movies now, and these movies that you're watching. And so I even did a video here. It's like I call it the streaming effect. Like I mentioned, is like these movies feel like straight to video, but now straight to streaming movies because they don't really care about the theater going experience. This is so funny to me because these studios, these executives, they did this. They legitimately, I keep saying this, they did it to themselves. They all wanted that streaming, and it gets into this, which I'm not going to get into it here because I've covered it before. It talks about the COVID-19, and because that's what it all boils down to is during the pandemic, people stayed at home because we were forced to, and they started buying these streaming services. And that's when streaming really took off more so than it had been because everybody was stuck at home. So what are they going to do? They're watching movies. They were putting movies that were meant to go to theaters on streaming, and everybody was doing that. And they sort of got comfortable doing that. And then once the world went back to normal, that was it. And they don't understand what the studios truly do not understand what they're talking about, and they will not accept responsibility for what they've done, because they did it to themselves. There's yes, the masses have maybe moved on from physical media, right? Nobody buys physical media, everybody does streaming because of the streaming and the ease and comfort. I get it, it's fine, whatever. But if you legitimately make the movie important, make a good movie. Yes, you do need to make good movies. And I do believe in this article, which I think I'm at the end here, they want to talk about how they want to make more movies. Their ideal to fix everything is to make more movies along with that. Sure, yeah. If you're going to make more movies, it has to be more than just franchise movies, more than superhero movies. It's got to be low budget comedies, low budget action movies, low budget horror movies, dramas, and stuff like that. You got to give people a variety if you're going into them. But the thing is, if you make the movies important again, feel important again, and make them theatrical and send them to the theaters and leave them longer in the theaters than a 45-day window, make them that, and then maybe tout the physical media. If you're missing the sales of DVDs and physical media, if you make the DVD, the Blu-ray, the 4K more important than the streaming, people will go back to that and people will buy that. If you give it to them, if you give it to the people, I feel like, if you give it to them, they will come. People will come, especially collectors and stuff. If you make the DVD and physical media format more important again, then maybe you can, like with streaming, if you want to do streaming, is make it like an important event like they used to back in the day. When it's something that would premiere on TV, they would give it a big big, a premiere on TV. You make the physical media important, and you earn it back, and then you can also help your streaming business make money. But what do I know? What do I know? I'm just some idiot here on YouTube who likes horror movies, 80s and 90s movies, Superman and stuff like that. What do I know? I've been buying physical media since I was like 5 years. Well, not I shouldn't say five, because I should say 10. I've been buying physical media since I was like 10 years old. But what do I know? What do I know? And it concludes here in the article. It says, I think as everybody tries to figure out the answer to that, it's a very fluid situation. Working your slate back to 10 to 15 to 20 movies a year. Like you said, yeah, you can make more movies, but don't make them streaming, because there's so many movies are actually legitimately being made, and they're all being sent straight to streaming, not theaters. There's so many streaming movies that nobody gives a crap for. But if you're going to make, which this is something I know you said, make more movies. It is something they do need to do, but it has to be more than just franchise movies. Like I said, it's going to be, in this article continues, says it's going to be a slow, cautious process. Everyone's kind of feeling their way of what's kind of causing the downturn. Is it the hangover from the pandemic, or is it we're not making the same amount of movies? DeLuca continues. Now would be a perfect time for Blu-rays to make a surprise comeback. And I'm going to take that off there. Me personally, it's still, physical media hasn't gone away. It's still here. The boutique labels are legitimately saving physical media. And I know there comes with a caveat with that, because it's mostly geared to the collectors, and some people don't want to, the prices for them are too high for them and everything. But yes, now would be a time for them to, it is truly, it's a little more complicated, but a simple fix is make better movies, which is easier said than done. Allow them to breathe in the theater more. Build up hype around them, build up hype around the physical media release, the DVD, the Blu-ray, the 4K, make that important again. You will earn that safety net back, and then you can like tout it for streaming. Your problem was you put everything on streaming and all your money into streaming, and it is a failed business model. You're not getting as much money in return as you were with a physical media release. Are they making money off these? Yes, Netflix is successful, but they're not making the money they once made because of the physical media release, because they would like two forms of box office, and then they would be able to license them out to TV stations and HBO, Showtime, but they've lost that. And they can't admit that they've lost that because they did it to themselves. I mean, they can admit that they've lost it, but they can't admit that it was themselves that did it. But let me know what you guys think about all this in the comment section down below. Do you guys still buy DVDs? Do you still buy Blu-rays, 4Ks, whatever? What do you guys think about the state of physical media? What do you think about the state of Hollywood? Because this to me was absolutely hysterical, and it's something interesting. They miss the days of DVDs, and all they really got to do is try to make that important again. But they won't, because they've sunk all this money into streaming, and that's where movies are going to go to die from now on. But let me know all your thoughts and comments in the comment section down below. And if you liked what you saw here, maybe consider hitting that like button or subscribing and hitting that bell for notification. That'd be awesome if you're in your guys' subscriptions, or possibly share the video out for everybody to see, or join and become a channel member, because that would help out my channel immensely. Thank you, and shout out to all my channel members. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Thank you guys for being channel members here, and for all of your support. To everybody watching, whether you liked me, hated me, or liked this video, or hated this video, I thank you for sticking this long. Wherever you all are, please have a great, safe, happy, healthy day, morning, afternoon, evening, and night. Always support physical media, because it really, truly is the superior format now more than ever. Godspeed.